share options. Okay, so this is actually because I'm located in Germany, we haven't had the YouTube Live feature available to us because GEMA, the authority that controls payments and royalties for artists, weren't too happy with Google Live. There's a rule in Germany that says if you can reach more than 500 people, you're a public broadcaster and you have to pay a rather large license fees. But it looks like Google have actually sorted that one out with GEMA now, and we can actually stream at least up to 500 people. I can see 4 people watching, and I would really love to have feedback in the chat or on Twitter at Chippy about the quality of the stream. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to carry on rabbiting on about that Surface Book that I've been testing over the weekend. This is for Notebook Check. For those of you that don't know, I get the devices from Notebook Check after they've done the German review, send them to me here in Bonn, and then I take the review, read through the German or the English if they've done the translation, and present that on their YouTube channel. I also get the chance to do my own stuff, add a little bit of my own thoughts, and that's what I'm doing now. And this is what I would like to do if I actually ever catch up with the amount of devices that are coming in right now. I think I've got 3 devices that really need to be done ASAP in terms of video review, and that's the priority. Get those done for Notebook Check, and then I can start talking about my personal opinions. And one of the ways I wanted to do it was Periscope, to try and intro the device on Periscope. Not too happy with the way that's going because I prefer to sit down in a studio with some better light, some better audio, and feedback on the chat channel here. So this is probably the way I'll do it. Maybe, we'll see. Maybe I'll write about it as well. But I think doing this sort of brief overview, a little interactive Q&A session, like we used to do the live reviews before, might be the way to do it. Plus, there's a little gag here. I'm sitting in a studio with a street front window. About 4 meters away from me there is the street. You might be able to hear cars occasionally going through, although I think I've got the mic tuned up such that you can't actually hear any of that. And people are walking past the window and looking in. So part of the gag is, and I'm sitting in Co-working Bonn. It's the new co-working space in Bonn. Part of the gag is that, I'm sitting in front of the window. There's this crazy guy doing these videos, and people will walk past, and hopefully the word will spread that I'm doing this, and then we'll, promote the co-working studio. And also on the side, I'm going to be offering training sessions, hands-on, in the studio here for people that want to come in and rent my time and rent the studio's time as well. So that's part of the gag here anyway. Again, anyone can feedback in the chat, be much appreciated. Audio quality, and let's just see if I can take that all the way to where we are live. An error has occurred. It's probably because I'm messing around with the stream. That is the Microsoft Surface Book, yes. And my stream is not working now. I'm just going to restart that. Okay, there you go. Right. So FDPHS0610, person with the easy to remember and mention name. Yes, this is the Microsoft Surface Book, and this is the high-end version. This is the Core i7 version with 16 gigs of RAM, 512 gigs of PCI Express connected SSD, super fast, 900 megabytes. In fact, in some tests, over a gigabyte second of transfer speed. So if you're moving files around, copying files, if you're doing work with video files, for example, if you connected a USB 3 SSD, if you've got one, I've got one that runs at about 400 megabytes per second max. That is really great for transferring in and out of the system, moving files to other devices. So I really like that. The problem is this is one of the most expensive Ultrabooks. No, it is the most expensive Ultrabook I've ever tested. I say Ultrabook because it's using the U-series CPU. It's the 15-watt TDP CPU inside. It's not a 45-watt TDP with the quad-core. It's got the Intel 520 graphics inside. That's not Iris, is it? No. But this has also got the discrete NVIDIA 940G, 940M, sorry, GT940M inside. So if you're doing any sort of gaming, this is capable of doing gaming. We've got a nice 70 watt hours of battery inside. Restarting the stream. And excuse me while I sort of check feedback, because we're doing some tests here of the new setup here with the new Elgato game capture device, which is a relatively cheap HD capture device, HDMI capture device, which has an H.264 encoder in it, and that's helping me to do this live stream here. Eventually I want to do this with a couple of cams that will feed into a switching box, or a TV producer. I'm thinking of the Blackmagic TV studio, or Atom TV studio, which would then allow me to switch between cameras, because if you remember when we used to do the live reviews, we used to have a close-up camera here. Unfortunately, I haven't got a close-up camera. I could get a switched HDMI thing, get a second camera and come in low. The best I can do for you at the moment is probably to zoom in slowly like that, but this really is just a test, and that's something I'll have to sort out in the future. Again, anyone can feedback on that chat in the YouTube page to the right top of the stream. There should be a chat session. I think you might need to be logged into Google to use that, but if you can give me any feedback on the quality, that would be really, really helpful. So what else do I want to mention about this? I want to mention the keyboard and the trackpad. Trackpad is probably the nicest trackpad I've ever tested on a Windows device. It's really, really nice. There's a lovely mechanics to it, a lovely feel to it. It's accurate, it's fast, it's really nice. Keyboard as well, super. It's got a nice backlight. You don't want the backlight in daytime because of the silver keys. It just it reduces the contrast between the keycaps, or the key letters, and the keys. So you switch that off during the daytime, and when it's bright, switch it on in the evening, and it's really, really perfect. As for this Hinge thing, I'm not too sure. Well, let's say it's cool, it looks great, but we have got this gap here in the middle. I really think if someone sat on that there's so much space in there that it would snap the hinge. I'm not saying that a standard laptop would last if you sat on it, but I know things like the Toshiba Z830, one of the first Ultrabooks that were around, you could sit on that and that wouldn't break. That was one of the features. And I just think that it wouldn't need to be. Oh, there's that's nice as well. Windows Hello, it's instant in. I just think it's one of the things that if you accidentally squashed it in your bag, or if it was in transport, someone put something on top, that it feels strong. But maybe maybe I'm just moaning too much. We have got Windows Hello cameras here. It's not RealSense, not Intel 3D cameras. And if I just press the on button, he says, and we're in like that. So the actual Windows Hello feature is really, really fast. Really nice there. As for ports, you've got, I'll talk about the connection with the tablet and keyboard in a minute. As for ports, we've got nothing on the tablet, so that's quite interesting. When you've got this tablet in your hands, there's no connectivity, no physical connectivity at all, apart from the headset port. That's all you're going to get. So no USB. You can't put a USB SD card adapter in there. You can't add a USB audio device. You can't do anything. You are fixed to Bluetooth and Wi-Fi and Wi-Fi for displays. But on the actual base unit, you've got a fairly reasonable port selection. You've got a display port down here, mini display port. You've got the charge and docking port there, so you can actually connect a dock there. And then on this side, you've got two USB 3s and a full-size SD card slot as well. So that's nice for pulling in content, photos, videos that you're working on. As for that connection between the tablet and keyboard, well, it's an interesting one. You can't pull it off at all unless you press the button for 1 second, wait for the red light, then wait another second before the little message comes up there so you can remove it. And that's because it obviously needs to check what software is running and be able to disconnect it from the PCI Express NVIDIA GPU inside and anything else that's connected. And I think mainly it's the GPU that's the issue. If you start up something like what was the test program I use? I keep thinking of Cyberlink. Cinebench. If you start Cinebench, it will actually enable the GPU, and then you try and remove the device, and it say there's a program stopping you from removing it. So it's not really a very quick 2-in-1 experience. You can't just grab it and go. You really need to stop what you're doing in some cases before you can take it off. The actual hinge itself, there's a little bit of wobble, but nothing really more than standard 2-in-1s, because this is a heavy, well, you've got everything in there, 780 grams, I think it is. Obviously a little bit of floppiness there as it sort of bounces around. It's a heavy bit of screen there, but in general it's quite nice. It's a nice, I think it's nicer than the watch band hinge on the Yogas. It just a little bit more subtle. That chrome watch band hinge on the Yogas is a little bit well, it depends on you on what you like. I like more understated style myself, and that suits me a little bit better. So there is one thing though about the hinge, and that's it. That's as far back as it goes. So no tipping, but obviously what they've done is prevented it from tipping back by limiting the angle at which it can lean back at. Now that's kind of fine, tabletop and stuff. On the lap though, it's not quite perfect, because you need to you need about that angle to go on your lap, and that is not perfect. Fortunately, it's a nice IPS screen, so you won't have a problem in actually reading the screen, but you do feel it's suboptimal. You want a screen to be perpendicular to the face, and it just feels a little bit awkward that it's not quite. You just keep wanting to push it back. Also, if you ever do that lay down thing where you get the laptop on your belly or your tablet on your belly, this doesn't work. In fact, if you put it to about there, you watch the screen, whoops, and it actually falls down. So it's so heavy that if you do that, try and do that belly balance thing with the keyboard, with the unit, it doesn't work. You need a 180 degree opening device for that. So that's not too bad. I guess I guess I shouldn't expect that to be a belly balance device. Of course, you can take the tablet off and use it for 2-3 hours before it runs out of battery. Right, I think I'm going to close this stream off. It looks like, why not? Why not carry on? Because I want to upload a video that I've just made of the HP Spectre X2. Just done a very long video on that. And that will be going up soon. Reasonable device, really strange on that USB-C connectivity that doesn't support native display port over USB 3.1 Rev 2. So that's a bit weird, but a nicely styled device, nice keyboard, lovely trackpad, nice backlit keys on that as well. Quite poor connectivity, so there's no SD card slot at all, not even a micro SD card slot. The Wi-Fi is pretty good. So you really need to be thinking about taking adapters with you with this, which kind of defeats the object of it being an ultra mobile device in my opinion. RealSense cameras, I'm not convinced about RealSense cameras just yet. Haven't seen much software that really excites me in terms of that. The early stuff we did 3 years ago with RealSense, and I was one of the judges, one of the early RealSense, well, it wasn't called RealSense then, but it was called, what was it called? What it was called anyway. The 3D depth sensing cameras from Intel, the early prototypes with Creative. We got some good stuff going. I've seen the quality of it improve. I just haven't seen any really ultra cool implementations or availability of applications yet. So I guess that's something that's going to take a few years to develop. And RealSense is on there, and it's usable for Windows Hello. But yeah, and you can do some funny stuff. Take some 3D pictures from the rear cam, but we've all done that with that Dell Venue 8, and after doing it 1 or 2 times, it was sort of like, yeah, okay, let's move on and leave that until we can find a use for it. But anyway, so that's what I want to do. I just want to shut down this review, this live stream, and I want to upload the X2 video. If you were watching the early stream, you might not have been because it was cutting out. I've also done head-to-head on video encoding, so that's rendering out a video edit on the book, on the X2, on the Surface Pro 3, and on the Mix 700, which the review for that, the video for that went up a couple of days ago. Interesting, because the Mix 700 is a Core M5, the X2 is a Core M7, and the Surface Pro 3 is a Haswell Core i5. And the Core M5 and the M7 are as good to do video editing and rendering as the Surface Pro 3 was and is. It's a 2 generations old device now, but it's still usable. The Surface Pro 3 does it loudly and downclock, so you do your second render, it gets slower. These devices are silent and they don't downclock much. They downclock a bit, but not much. So that's really nice. And I actually really like that Mix 700. I like the keyboard, and I like the screen, the connectivity on it, and that speed as well. It would be enough for me to take that with me to do video editing, HD video editing, proper video editing, not one take editing, but multiple cuts, maybe a multicam edit, 2 or 3 cams, separate audio channel, overlays, titles, fades, etc., etc., etc. Even some extra audio channels would be no problem at all on the Core M5 and Core M7. And I've seen it read that those devices, those platforms, aren't good enough for full HD video editing. Well, it does depend on what you do. You can actually do full HD editing on an Atom X5, but you can only do sort of 1 or 2 cuts, and it's quite slow. But if you want to do anything without CPU-based work on this, so without effects, without color and brightness adjustments, without filters, then this is no problem. And really, that's for most of us that are doing YouTube videos. We don't need much in terms of filters, color corrections. If we're doing studio work, we should be getting the color right to start with, and we shouldn't have to go back and try and boost the colors. If you're out in the field, if you're at an event, for example, and you take a video and the color balance is way off because you didn't have a chance to set it, or the lighting is really low, then you can do some stuff with that. And I guess that's where it comes in useful to have more power to do video editing. But then again, who wants to lug around 2.5 kilos worth of quad-core laptop to do that? Right. That will do for this one. We've tested out Ustream. I hope it ran to the end, and I hope it saves it on YouTube so that I can. Not so sure if it did. So that I can replay it. But thanks for watching, thanks for your feedback, and stay tuned to me on @Chippy, and I'm on Google Plus as well, Steve Chippy Payne, and on YouTube, where you'll be able to find out if I'm doing more live streams. And I do hope to be doing them certainly once or twice a week. I have the opportunity to be later in the studio. I'm in Europe, so it's now 7:15, which means the US comes online, and it gives me a chance to address more people and be a little bit more exciting with more people, I think. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to check out the Spectre X2 video that I'm going to put up right after this. See you soon.